Today, we're going to dive into one of the biggest ideas in all of chemistry, the mole. It's the secret weapon that lets chemists count atoms and molecules that are way too small to see, so they can make everything from life-saving drugs to brand new materials. So, let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start with the basic problem. The things chemists work with, atoms, molecules, they're just ridiculously, unbelievably small. You can't just pick one up and put it on a scale. Imagine trying to weigh a single speck of dust on a bathroom scale. It's just not going to work, right? And that brings up the big question. If you can't weigh them one by one, how in the world do you know you're mixing the right amounts for a reaction? Chemistry is a lot like baking. You need a precise recipe. You can't just guess your ingredients. So how do they solve this? Well, the answer is a really clever workaround. Instead of trying to count every single atom, chemists came up with a special unit to count them in big, manageable groups. It's kind of like a chemist's dozen, and it's called the mole. Now, here is the official definition. It sounds a little heavy, I know, but the idea behind it is pretty straightforward. Scientists just needed a universal standard to base everything on. So they chose a specific type of carbon, carbon-12, and said, okay, let's figure out how many atoms are in exactly 12 grams of this stuff. Whatever that huge number is, we're going to call it 1 mole. It's just like how we decided a dozen means 12. And we have this guy, Amedeo Avogadro, to thank for getting this whole idea started. Now, he didn't actually figure out the number himself, but his pioneering work on gases paved the way for the entire concept of the mole. So, what is that magic number? Just how many particles are actually crammed into one single mole? There it is, the Avogadro constant. That's 6.02 with 23 zeros after it. It is a massive, mind-bending number. But that's it. That's how many particles are in 1 mole of anything. It is the chemist's dozen, just on a completely epic scale. And here's what makes it so powerful. This number doesn't just work for one thing. It's a universal counter. 1 mole of carbon atoms, it has this many atoms. 1 mole of water molecules, it has this many molecules. It works for atoms, molecules, ions, you name it. It's incredibly useful. But because it's so versatile, you have to be super specific. And this leads to a common trip-up. If I said 1 mole of chlorine, what do I really mean? Am I talking about single chlorine atoms, or am I talking about the chlorine molecule, Cl2, which is how we normally find chlorine gas? Let's break it down. 1 mole of individual chlorine atoms is pretty simple. It's Avogadro's number of atoms. But 1 mole of chlorine molecules is Avogadro's number of molecules. And since every single one of those molecules is made of 2 atoms stuck together, you actually have twice as many atoms in total. So the big takeaway is you always have to be clear about what particle you're counting. Okay, so we have this great way to count particles in huge batches. Fantastic. But how does that actually help in a real lab? You can't sit there and count out sextillions of atoms. So this is where we connect our counting unit to something we can actually measure, mass. And this is the magic link right here, molar mass, which we note with a capital M. It's just the mass, in grams, of 1 single mole of a substance. It's the bridge that connects the invisible world of atoms to the very real-world measurement you get from a laboratory scale. This gives us our first essential formula. If you've got a scoop of some chemical, all you have to do is weigh it, then divide that mass by its molar mass. And boom, you know exactly how many moles you have. It means we can finally count things just by weighing them. And this picture is the perfect illustration. Each of these piles is exactly 1 mole of a different substance. But look how different they are. 1 mole of lead is that heavy little pile of metal, while 1 mole of carbon is that lighter pile of black powder. They all have the exact same number of particles, but because their atoms have different weights, their total mass is totally different. That is molar mass in action. And of course, we can just flip that formula around. If a procedure tells you that you need half a mole of something, you can use this version to figure out exactly how many grams you need to weigh out. This is literally what chemists do all day long. All right, that's enough theory for now. Let's put this stuff to work and see how these calculations actually play out with a couple of real examples. Okay, let's walk through this. We want to know how many moles are in 117 grams of regular old table salt. First step, we need the molar mass. So we add up the atomic mass of sodium and chlorine, and we get 58.5 grams per mole. Second step, we grab our formula. Moles equals mass over molar mass. Third step, we just plug in our numbers. 117.0 divided by 58.5, and the answer is exactly 2.0 moles. See? Not so bad. Now let's go the other way. We need to find the mass of 1/4 of a mole of sodium hydroxide. So step 1, again, find the molar mass. Add up sodium, oxygen, and hydrogen, and you get 40.0 grams per mole. Step 2, we use our other formula, mass equals moles times molar mass. And finally, step 3, we multiply 0.25 by 40, and we find out we need to weigh out exactly 10.0 grams. So why do we do all this? Why is this so incredibly important? Well, because the mole, it's the language of chemistry. It's how chemists read and write their recipes. You know, take a look at this. When you react iron and sulfur, you have to get the ratio just right if you want to make pure iron sulfide without any leftovers. And the mole is what lets a chemist calculate that perfect ratio every single time. This is where it all comes together. A chemical equation like this one is basically a recipe that's written in the language of moles. Those big numbers out front, they're the ratios. This equation is telling you that for every 1 mole of iron oxide you start with, you need exactly 3 moles of carbon monoxide to react with it. And if you do that, you'll get exactly 2 moles of pure iron and 3 moles of carbon dioxide. It's all perfectly proportional. So at the end of the day, a balanced equation is so much more than just letters and numbers. It's a recipe. And now that you understand the mole, you can read it. It tells you the exact proportions you need for your ingredients, and it even tells you how much you're going to make. It is the absolute key that turns chemistry from guesswork into a precise, powerful science.
Pay attention to the main keyword displayed, as they are highly important for exams. These points cover all major board specifications. Please subscribe our channel to get more educational videos. Thank you.